Greetings. The question was asked about my opinion on the Gospel of Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas is a favorite one of those who like to contend that it should be part of the canon of the New Testament. They would say that this is actually one of the original sources for Q, that Q was dependent on Thomas, or sometimes you hear also the opinion of the other way around, that Thomas was dependent on Q. Q in this case is a fictitious document believed to be the source of information for the canonical gospel. The canonical gospels are the gospels that we find in the Bible: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Q doesn't really exist, but some people would say that actually the writers of the gospel used Q as a source to write their gospels. And they will also then say that either Thomas was the source of Q or Q was the source of Thomas. Here again, there is no actual Q document, it's all fictitious. As far as Thomas goes, this document was found in a place in Egypt called Nag Hammadi, which is actually belongs to a mountainous area in Egypt. There was a very large Christian population in that place, and in 1945 there was a archaeological finding of 12 different codexes. A codex is just a book or an ancient document in a book format, a modern book format. Before that, they were just scrolls, remember. And so in this case, we find 1945 in Nag Hammadi 12 codexes, and among them we also have, we find a document known as the Gospel of Thomas. This Gospel, or this document, contain 114 sayings that are attributed to Jesus. So they are not like this book of the Gospel of Thomas is not like anything like you read in the Gospels in the Bible, like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They are just sayings. So they are short sentences, tops one or two sentences attributed to Jesus, and they are 114 of those sayings. So there is not like the story of Jesus. There is no chronological story being presented, no birth account, no narrative really, just sayings. For instance, saying number 1 in the Gospel of Thomas is, "And he said, whoever discovers the interpretation of these sayings will not taste death." That's saying number 1. Then number 2 says, Jesus said, "Those who seek should not stop seeking until they find." Sentence 1. Then it continues, "When they find, they will be disturbed." Sentence 2. Then sentence 3. "When they are disturbed, they will marvel and will reign over all, and after they have reigned, they will rest." So that's that. Then it goes into saying number 3, and so on and so forth. So they are is nothing like what we know as a gospel. The reason why is known as a gospel is just because some people wanted to create that feeling of a gospel, and again because of the name in Greek of this, which is kata Thomas, according to Thomas, which was also the name that you find in the Greek text of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. In the original language, the name of Matthew is not the gospel according to Saint Matthew. It is just according to Matthew, then according to Mark, according to Luke, according to John. Then the question is this a legitimate book that was written by one of the apostles of Jesus known as Thomas? And among conservative scholars, it is unanimous that it is not. There is a reason actually why Thomas is not part of any modern Bible at all that I know of or I'm aware of. is because nobody accepts it as a legitimate book written by the Thomas the Apostle. The So does it even date to the times of Thomas? And the answer is no. But again, what are we dating here? Are we dating the actual book that was written, or are we dating the sayings and tracing the sayings back to? Half of the content of the Gospel of Thomas actually is found in the synoptic Gospels, or in the Gospels that you find Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So half of it actually comes from Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The other half talk about the content of the other half is very Gnostic in nature. It talks about if you are able to interpret things, then you'll find life, just like I read. It talks about mysteries, that only those who are able to understand the mysteries are able to achieve higher understanding, higher degree of blessing, and even salvation. And that kind of language is very Gnostic in nature. That's why it is not part of the canonical gospel, because it's really a Gnostic document. So so again, the actual writing dates back to the 2nd century after Jesus, which is not early enough to be written by Thomas the Apostle. Half of the content is dependent on the Bible, so we see on the canonical gospel, so we can see somebody actually borrowing sayings from these gospels, adding it to the Gospel of Thomas, then taking half of the content from among the Gnostic beliefs, applying it to the Gospel of Thomas, and then saying, "Hey, Thomas wrote this." This is actually very popular approach to writing in the ancient world, particularly among the Jews. When we have, because we do have the pseudepigrapha writings and the apocryphal writings attributed to Enoch and so on and so forth. People who actually did not write these documents. So it doesn't date back to the time of Thomas. The content reflects the Gnostics' beliefs. And Gnosticism basically mixed Christian beliefs with some mysteries that they came up with. That again, if you are able to understand these mysteries, embrace these mysteries, you will obtain higher degree of blessing and even salvation again. So should we even pay attention to the Gospel of Thomas? I think there is some value in reading it. You get to read a very ancient document, which is enriching. There are some truth in it, of course, that's enriching as well. Is that the word of God? Absolutely not. Should we add it to the Gospels? Absolutely not. So that is my opinion on the Gospel of Thomas. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Blessings to all.